Alright everyone, welcome to part 2 of replacing passenger side lower quarter. Past few days we have been working on these guys for the hood here, so kind of doing a little project there, distracted with that. But today we are back to working on the quarter and flip the camera around and show you what the first step is to kind of do all the body work and match the patina on this. Alright, so last episode you guys saw we got the entire lower quarter welded on, and now gonna work on this back section here. So like I mentioned last time, gonna have to cut out square right here, welded a new piece, because eventually, like I said, we're gonna have to replace the whole tail panel, but I need to spot weld this to somewhere, and this right here is all Bondo and rust. So I'm gonna start off today by cutting a square out here, hopefully making this piece, welding the lower quarter here to the new piece after I get it welded in. So see how it goes. Should be a pretty easy piece to make. I always end up saying that, and then it takes like 3 days to make it. So I don't know, we'll see though. There's a curve or like a point right there with this curve, so it'll probably just be like a 4" by 4" square literally for right there. So gonna go cut this out, make a template, and start on that. Alright, just cut this piece out right here. It's gonna be a bigger piece than I thought it would, but no big deal. You could see here how it is just completely rusted, and the amount of Bondo on it is quite a lot. So this is definitely gonna be a good move, because then we can just easily spot weld this here. So the next step is to grind down all the paint around it so it's bare metal here. I'm not sure how much longer we can continue working on this part, because I think it's gonna storm in a bit here soon, and this is kind of right by the back of the garage where water can come in. So I don't know, we'll go as long as we can today, but like I said, next step, gonna go through and grind down all the paint around this. So I had to do a little more trimming, and then I got perfect. Made my template, got the piece. It's kind of just in rough shape right now. Gonna do some hammering to get the right bend and all. And right now I'm gonna go ahead and tack this piece to the inner quarter along that edge right there, so then I can get this piece straight. And if that's like that, I can go ahead and start tacking the piece along the bottom here. And then while it's on there, I'm gonna have to just make the bend up top, because this is kind of a complicated piece, more complicated than I thought it would be. So plan is right now, go ahead, tack that in place, and then we'll see what it looks like from there. All right, so I got that piece all welded in place. I'm pretty happy with it. The welder was acting up, but got to figure it out, so it's all gonna be grinded off anyway. So now, moving on to starting to grind down all these welds here, and I have a feeling I'm gonna have to go back and weld up a few places, but that's not an issue. And then once I get these grinded down, I'm gonna have to work on trimming out this piece on the inside, so it's gonna take a couple hours, but other than that, should be pretty good. So we'll see what it looks like after I start grinding some of these welds down. What's up everyone? It is the following day, and I just finished doing the first go round, or first I was gonna say first coat, but I'm not even painting. First time, let's just call it, going over all the welds with the grinder. So I'll show you what it looks like here. There's a couple spots where it needs to be re-welded, especially areas on this back corner right here. So I'm about to go do that really quick, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. Happy with how this is turning out. I didn't do any of the bottom or anything yet, because I just want to get this done first, and then go do the bottom, which is the easier part, and then the wheel well. So plan is right now, go weld up a couple more spots, and then hit it with the grinder again, and hopefully looks a little better than this does. So got all the lights off in the garage here, through the shop light in the trunk here, so you can see it's right there. Goes in that way, and if you come over here, you can see if we cover that up there. There we go. No light coming through on the back at all, so pretty happy with that there. This piece, it's so hard to weld to this old metal, especially when a lot of this is just Bondo. So this isn't the greatest piece, but it'll do for now. I'm still pretty happy with it and the way it turned out. come over here. Doo-doo-doo. I do not see any light shining through, so that's a good sign. There's a little bit of, I don't know if you guys can see my camera. Oh, there you go. You can see some of the pinholes there. None up here at all, which is perfect. So it's kind of just a little middle row here. So what I'll do is I'll go mark those out with a Sharpie, kind of just draw where they're at, and then go through, weld those up, grind it back down, same process, and then check it again. All right, after I went through with the light, marked out all the spots. There was a spot here, spot there. You can kind of see where I had the arrows. There's another one there. Where else? There's kind of one there. And then re-welded it all. You can see the mark up there. And then just grinded all that down, shine the light through again, and no holes. So that was perfect. I was honestly expecting there to be a lot more in the first place, and I was expecting there to be some the second time, but I guess I marked them all out, got it welded up pretty good. So I'm happy with how it's sitting right now. It's really flush, so I'm pretty happy with that. Plan is right now, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the bottom here. I'm gonna grind all these spot welds down, and then I gotta go through and trim that piece right there. All right, just went through and grinded down all the spot welds on the wheel well there, and then underneath there. Grinding upside down near back is not the most fun thing. And then went through and had to trim that piece right there. You can see the excess piece right there. So that's all trimmed away. Made a pretty good size mess. So gonna sweep this up here and then go through, and then there's a couple little areas on the spot weld. So you can see like half of that section is welded, and then like that area over there is not. So just go through, fill those areas, go back, grind them all down, throw some filler on this, and call it a day. All right, went through, re-welded a couple of those spots. It is perfect now, so I'm really happy with that. Welds came out good. Even had to do fiddle focus underneath this little piece right here, so that is all seamless. Just had to trim away a little bit more up here. Really happy with the way that turned out. And then that part is straight right there. So just like these, like half was filled and then half wasn't. So went through, redid that, grinded everything down. So come to think of it now, that's pretty much it for cutting and grinding on this. Besides, I got to cut out the section for the side marker. Other than that, it's pretty much it. So pretty big step. Right now I'm gonna go mix up some filler and slap it on that seam before I call it a night. Well, panel probably looks a little bit different now. Went through and obviously put some body filler on it. So all across this seam here, along this section, and then I just did a little bit on here. I kind of had some left over, and I just want to get this smoothed out. So there wasn't anything that really needed to be filled in too much, except for, you know, just kind of little areas around the spot welds. But I'm really happy with this. Finally, some visual progress. I also moved the tape up because you can see where the stripe kind of ends. Didn't want to hit the stripe, but the tape used to be right there, and I kind of wanted to get enough filler to, you know, make it all flush, not just have it right there and down. So happy with this. I probably put too much on than I probably should have, but that's okay because I can sand it all off. So I mixed up a little too bit, no big deal. Go through, most of this is going to be sanded off, so gonna let this dry overnight, and tomorrow we will begin body work. All right, everybody, it's been a few days now. Just kind of working on the sanding. Got most of it sanded off today, and I'm really happy with it so far. So from here to about, where is it? Here is perfectly smooth. This is just 80 grit on a block I started out with, so I gotta go finer grit and stuff. And then from here to the back here is smooth. So right here to about here, there's a little indent, so I gotta sand more of this off, and then it should be good Back here I do need a little bit more filler. You can kind of see that right there. So I don't know, hopefully by the end of today everything will be sanded. I still gotta work on that piece back there. Everything will be sanded and can throw a coat of primer on this. Alright, it has been a few days now, and last few days on the lower quarter here I've just been sanding and getting it all straight and smoothed out, and I think we're at the point where it's pretty perfect. So I took all the tape off, retaped it, so right now I'm going to go ahead, throw some filler primer on this section, and yesterday I actually painted this, and this was super good except for a spot that needs to be sanded down there. And up here, so I got that sanded. That mess is just how the tail panel is. You can see it's the same thing there and same thing there, so it matches the rest of it. I didn't even bother cutting out a square and welding that up. So right now, gonna go through and throw some filler primer on it, and then I need to go through and put some seam sealer on the lip here. First coat of filler primer is on, and I've let it dry for about a half hour now. It's looking pretty good. There's some spots that need to be sanded, obviously. Right here is a pretty good spot that needs to be sanded down. You can see the filler there, and then along this right there needs to all be sanded down. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. The body line is there, and this one here matches up perfectly. So really happy with that. On this side here, like I said, that was that's just how it was because my patch panel ended about there. So I could have cut a square out and welded up. That's just literally all Bondo. So this patch panel here was just so the new piece could weld to it. Other than that, I don't know if I'm gonna go ahead mesh a stripe or not, or maybe just leave it primer. I haven't decided. And then we put some seam sealer along the seam there, the corner there, and back in the corner there. So I need to go through and do a second coat of that, and then I can go and paint it just like I just painted this side. And I don't know why we didn't do that earlier because it looks a lot better. Then underneath here, took some undercoating and sprayed the bottom all along there, the trunk extension. So that's turning out pretty good. Waiting for that to dry now just so it's all one solid color. Okie dokie, as you can see, we went through and sanded the spots that need to be sanded after the last coat of filler primer, and it is extremely smooth right now. So we are very happy with it. Gonna go ahead and throw another coat of filler primer on. This section should be perfect. This section, I'm not so sure about it, so we'll see what that end up looking like. But you can see a good amount had to be sanded here, which is weird because I was worried that section wasn't gonna be good and this section was gonna be perfect, whereas the opposite. So guess that's just the way it goes sometimes. And sanded down the bottom here, which is super smooth. So happy with that. I'm gonna go throw another coat of primer on this and we'll see what it looks like. What's up, folks? It's been a while since we filmed anything for this video here. Kind of been working on little projects throughout the car, trying to get it ready for a road trip in a week, which I'll have a video on that out once that's over with, if we even make it. But back to working on the lower quarter, because I'd like to get some paint on this thing before we go, so it's not just primer. So in the past week on this piece, we've just been sanding, body filling, sanding, more body filling. You get the idea. And we made, I can't remember if I showed this or not, but we made the bumper piece right here, painted that orange. It's covered up by the bumper right now. And then did a lot of body work on this piece right here. So it's at a point where it is really smooth, but we pushed it out in the sun the other day because we went for a test drive. And you can see there still are some waves. So we went through, taped it off, threw tarp over the tire, and then just did a light coat of black on this section we were doing body work on as a guide coat. So we'll go over it with the block, some 220 right now, and we'll see where the high and the low spots are. Well, we went through and sanded that area on the block here, just use some 220, and you can see the high and low spots. So obviously the spots that are still painted black are the low spots, and then the spots that are primer are too high. So basically we need to sand down these areas to get it even with this, because this right here is even with the orange right here. So this is still too high. You could feel like a bump right there. So basically what we need to do is just sand down this section, and then we should be good. Can't really tell with paint on it, but once you get outside and you can just see it just in primer, there's totally bumps and stuff. So on to more sanding. Okay, probably looks a little different than from the last clip. So in between now and then, we sanded down the guide coat that was on it. There was a bunch of high spots, so we got most of those down. It's pretty smooth right now. I did another coat of filler primer over it and then sanded that down. So I'm gonna go ahead and do another guide coat on it because I can see there's some other spots, but it's just so hard to see when it's all gray. So just do a light coat on that, and then we'll start sanding that down. So you can see here all the high spots and the low spots. Not really high spots, but what it's supposed to be is all along here, which is the body line and where the piece is welded. It's just about right here, and then the low spot is everything above it. I understand why. It's because I put filler on this and then kind of smoothed it out to the top, but didn't put a whole lot. So right now, I mean, it's probably gonna be hard to see on camera, or maybe not. You can kind of see the waves down there, and it's not as bad on this side here. Right here is actually really smooth, so I don't think I'm gonna mess with this. Maybe put a thin coat, but gonna do some more filler. Basically this section right here, so where you see the most amount of black paint, right here is perfectly smooth, and then you can just feel it dip down right there. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the black paint, and you can see the primer right there. All right, I'll try and talk over the fan, but Bodywork is now complete. So this is an extremely exciting moment for us here. In the last clip, I told you guys we were gonna do some more filler in this section right here, and I mean, it is really good. So I'm really happy with the way it is turned out. Just kind of letting this coat of filler primer dry. So I'm gonna go through and start matching the patina. Walk you around to the back side here. So if you remember, we made that new piece and it goes to about like here, ends there. So happy with that. Not sure if I'm gonna go through and continue the stripe there, or just kind of leave it primer, paint it orange. We will see. But right now, we're gonna get to the whole point of this episode, the exciting point of matching this patina. All right, piece probably looks a little different than last time here. So as you can see underneath here, it's kind of a maroon, so this car has been repainted at some point. It's an original orange car. Then it looks like here's some primer. Then it looks like somebody repainted like a purplish maroon and then orange back over on top. So we got some maroon. It's not as maroon as I thought it would be. Hopefully with the orange over it, it should work. See, that's more of like a red. Kind of bummed about that, but with the orange over it, it should work. And you know what? If it doesn't, you can always just go get a can that's more maroon and spray it. I mean, it's gonna be patina, so you won't really be able to tell, hopefully. But that's the color underneath. I went through just some spots black and some spots a darker gray, because that's what's on the other side. There's some black spots underneath the orange, so it's chipped up somewhere. You can kind of see like there. And then there's some primer spots, especially on the other side, right here, and on the lower quarter on the other side. So it's not going to be a total match to the other side, but I want it to be relatively close. And I guess I should show what we're using for this. So literally just some spray paint. That's all it is. So this is the black. This is just the darker primer. It's just self-etching. Just did a couple spots. And then, yeah, this is red. So I had some maroon. Down here you can see I got a lot of spray paint from the models and everything. I had some maroon and it was not spraying. Like something with the little nozzle there on the can was not working. Tried multiple caps, didn't work. So we'll try this try to see how it works, but right now I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry. I don't know how well the orange is gonna go over these colors, so I may have to do some primer over this, just so the fact that the orange goes on primer and it's a nice solid color. we just did 2 coats of orange on this piece, so you guys saw what it looked like before with the red and the black and the primer. After the first coat of orange, you could totally see the things through. So we let that dry, just came back to the second coat, and it blends really well. So I am happy with that. Just like the trunk piece here, where in this area we painted it because there used to be that third brake light, weld up the holes, paint it, and it's matched pretty well, especially with the chips and stuff. So that's kind of what our plan is for this. So we'll let this dry overnight now, come back in the morning, see what it looks like, go through, gotta chip it up. So you can see how like there is chipped up, and you can see the primer, the black underneath, and then there's some purple. There's not much purple underneath the stripe at all on the car. So if that red ends up not working out, I mean, it's fine, not too worried about that. I'm sure we'll have to go back, spray some spots here and there, but we'll see what it looks like. The best thing is though, now that you can't see where it ends, literally you cannot see it, so I'm happy with that. Once we go through and buff the car, this here will all be shiny. Just went through and buffed this section, this section, so it'll match with that because it's nice and shiny, but you can see how dirty it is down there, and this tape is literally right underneath where the stripe is. Here it's not, but over here where it's painted, it's right up against it. So hopefully the new line of paint will just go up right to the bottom of the stripe, and you won't be able to notice. All right, it is the next morning. You guys saw yesterday we put 2 coats of orange on this piece, and earlier this morning I threw another coat on it. Been letting it dry for a couple hours now. Really happy with the way it blends up there. There's a couple of spots like right here. I kind of forgot not to tape this section off for the focus. There we go. You can see the crisp line right there, and the same thing would have happened if we would have left the tape line there, but that's how that's what I was talking about. That's why we sanded it down, so we could blend it in. So I'm gonna go and sand this down, sand a couple of spots just throughout the quarter, so you can see that paint coming through, and then we'll do another coat of orange, and we gotta be more precise when we lay the tape. You could see the new orange, and then there's like some primer and black from before. So I want to try to get it right underneath the stripe. Like you can see right here, it's pretty much perfect, so you can't really tell. So we took the tape off and then took it off that section over there. I'll get to that in a second, but we just relined it at the bottom of the stripe, so it's pretty much even now. Did a like a light coat of orange, then kind of dusted it with some black and some spots. So this is gonna take some time to get all right, but you can see here, this is what I was talking about, like getting the chips. So you can see the primer and stuff underneath, because if you look here, there's all that chips right there. And if we come to this side, over here, you can really see it. So kind of going for the same theme on this side, not gonna match it exactly, but it'll be pretty similar, especially up there you can see a lot of the primer chips. So all I'm really using to make like these chips and stuff is just an X-Acto knife here, kind of picking away at the paint, and it's kind of figuring out as you go pretty much, but something I'm really excited about. You remember I sprayed the red underneath it, and there's multiple coats of orange. Well, you can see the orange underneath this layer, and there's a couple spots on the car. I can't exactly remember where, but you can see there's some spots there where it looks like 2 layers of orange kind of right there. You can see it. So I've just been kind of scraping away, picking at stuff, and I mean I'll go through, sand it once this coat dries, because this is still a little bit tacky, but it's best to pick at it when it's tacky, because then it kind of flicks off and you can get the rough shape. But you can see the layers, the black, the primer, the orange, you can see the red in some spots. So I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out so far, and it's just kind of figuring out as you go right now. The hard part about this whole thing is kind of knowing where to stop, how far to go, how much to do, and where to do it. But the good thing is, you know, if you mess up, take too much off, you can always just repaint over it. So that's kind of what we're going back and forth between right now, just a little at a time. But you can see here, that's the red underneath. There's the orange, and look at this. You can see the 2 layers of orange. This is the original, or whatever you want to call it. And you can see kind of the red underneath there. You see the 2 layers of orange there, so it matches that. And then you see this, how it's primer, and you got like the red and the black there. If you come up front, you can see the primer, the red and black. You can see the chips like that. You can see the chips all along the body lines and everything. So that's kind of what we're going for, and I am honestly extremely ecstatic of how this is turning out so far. So kind of just been blending paints here and there, picking away at it. I went a little too much on one spot and just threw some orange over it, and you can't even tell. Took the tape off so we can kind of just blend it better and see what it's looking like. But here, what I was talking about, this spot here, you can see the reddish underneath it, and you can see the 2 layers of orange. Kind of got the scratches on the back of the quarter here. Well, if we go to the other side, you can see how beat up this side is right here. You can see kind of the purple. You can see the scratches all along it. And then up here, right here specifically, you can see the 2 layers of orange. This top layer and then like the orange underneath it. Kind of been just picking away at the paint here. And what I mean by like picking away and using those scratches is just using the X-Acto knife. That's like sanded. There's a couple spots sanded. So you can see like this spot here sanded. Then I went over it with orange to make it look like the 2 layers, because there's a bunch of spots all over the car that are like that. And then went through with some Scotch-Brite and just scuffed up the entire thing so it's like kind of flat, matte, like the rest of the car is. You can see up there it's really matte. The door is flat, but we buffed that section there yesterday. So this all is good. So just kind of make it look older than it really is. It's tough to do, but just little by little. Just kind of making this up as we go. And then I just threw satin clear on a couple of spots. And then I'll go through, scuff all that down, and then we'll see what it looks like. Probably roll it outside too in the sun to get the best view at it. Well, got the car outside, and this is not as bad as I was expecting at all. So that is actually really good, because it's always good to see it in the sunlight, make sure everything's straight and there's no waves in it at all. And man, I'm extremely happy with that. I was really worried, get on the sunlight and be all messed up and stuff, but now the color blends in very well with it, and I'm pretty stoked. So you can see up here where it's kind of flat, that's just from the sun hitting it over years. That's kind of, well, it's not really shiny now. We went over it with some Scotch-Brite, kind of sanded it down and got it to a point where it's not as shiny, but it looks a little bit different than this section up here. But down through all here is really good, so I'm super happy with that now. So we're looking at the other side, and on the other side of the car there's a lot of like scratches and stuff down here, whereas this, it just seems like there's too much orange down here. So what I'm going to do right now is on this body line right here, I'm going to take a file and just kind of file away at the paint like that to get it scratched up, and go over it with some sandpaper and some Scotch-Brite, and we'll kind of see what it looks like. I also don't know if I'm going to leave this like kind of spot of red right here, maybe haze over it with the orange, not totally sure, but kind of see, kind of just faded some black here. Gonna go through and make that look better, because it looks like paint right now. So we'll see what happens. Also just washed the thing, and with all the dust off of it and stuff, it blends pretty well, so I'm really happy with it. All right, kind of just been blending the orange in here and there, just doing little things. Put the side marker in over there, and I mean, I'm really happy with that. So that is, oh my gosh, I'm really happy with that. I did not expect it to turn out that well, honestly. Happy everything blended here. So I'm gonna call this good for now. May do a few things later, but we are gonna go ahead and move on to just kind of making this section match. So my plan is to retape out that corner of the stripe, just like that one, and then paint it black, paint it white, scuff it up with the tape still on there so it'll look like it's kind of faded, but still have the crisp line. Then take the tape off and kind of sand it, put some scratches in the edges, and we'll see how it turns out. So I got the stripe here drawn and measured out so it matches that side there. Well, just paint it white, paint it black before, then white on top. So we'll wait for this to dry, peel the tape back, and then we'll, start sanding it first, and then we'll take the tape off, and then we'll see how it looks. But pretty happy with how it's turning out so far. A little overspray there, just wipe up with some acetone, but looks pretty good, and hopefully it'll match the rest of this thing. All right, painted it black, then white over it, sanded it down, kind of like haze some sections with black. Just took the tape off, and that's what it looks like. So very happy with that, and I haven't even sanded it up or kind of scratched up the edge here like that side. So once this dries, it's still pretty tacky right now. Go through, kind of sand it, blend it in, and put some scratches on the corner and make it look like the other side. Well, after scratching it up, kind of sanding it down, blending the paint, the corner piece on the tail panel here is done. So the patina for the lower quarter here is complete, and the tail panel is done. So since it's dark outside right now, obviously we will bring the car outside tomorrow, show you guys what it looks like in the daylight, and then that will be it for this video. All right, next morning, and we pushed the car outside here. So I'll kind of flip the camera around and show you guys exactly what it looks like now that the sun is out, and you can really tell how the paint blends and what it looks like. And I'm really happy with this. So since yesterday, I haven't done much to this except for kind of spray some orange in a couple of spots. If you remember, I had that red spot right there, it just didn't look right, so we blended that in with some orange, kind of scuffed the entire thing up so it's not as shiny, and it turned out really good. I'm happy because this was pretty shiny before, now it's not, and especially this transition here, it's really good. And then this piece, did not expect it to turn out this well, honestly. So you guys remember I taped out the stripe yesterday, just kind of drew it off that one, measured it, looks the same, and then went ahead, painted black, then orange, scuffed it up while the tape was still on, did some like overspray, kind of like haze in some areas to make it look like that right there and that there, and then went back, scratched it up, sanded it, and I think it turned out really well. Take a step back from the car so you can kind of see it overall. Now you can really see how the paint blends super well right there, which is what I was worried about, but I'm happy with how it turned out. Extremely stoked. Kind of just did this on the fly and showed you guys exactly how we did it here. No really special science to it or anything, just kind of use the same formula for what I did with models, which is layers of paint and sand it through, kind of chip it up. Just went as we go, did it as we went. You know what I'm trying to say, but just kind of did it on the fly, and it turned out really well and looks natural. I don't think many people will be able to tell that we put a whole new lower quarter on that section. So I think that is going to be it for this video. Nothing else really to show you guys or share. This was kind of a mix between doing all the body work, making that piece, and then obviously the best part and the most fun part was painting this and matching the patina. So you guys saw the first video where we replaced the quarter, welding it all and cutting the old one out, measuring, all that stuff. And I could not be any happier with the way this thing turned out here. So first time we've ever done something like this here, replacing a whole big body panel like this. I gotta say, replacing the floor and the trunk floor was much easier because you don't have to do all that body work and stuff. That was painful, but definitely worth it in the end, and it turned out super good, and I am extremely happy with this thing now. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you sticked around this long, kind of a fun little episode finishing up the quarter and stuff. Appreciate everyone sticking through and watching it. If you're still here, tune in to next time, where I don't know what we're gonna do, but this thing here is almost ready for a road trip.